You're listening to
Hello, Huddersfield.
the Voices of Huddersfield inspiring the future vision. Hello, and thank you for listening to Hello Huddersfield. Today, for our podcast, we have with us Leigh Morland from the University of Huddersfield, based in the 3M Buckley, who will share with us her visions for Huddersfield Town Centre in the near future and beyond. To get involved with this or future podcasts, please feel free to email us at inquiries@huddersfieldbid.co.uk. Co-hosting the show with myself, Sophie, we have bid manager Matthew Chapman, who will join the discussion throughout. Hi Matthew, how are you doing today?
Hi Sophie, I'm well, thank you.
Now, moving on to Leigh, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Sophie. It's another day working at home and working on Zoom, but yeah, getting used to it now.
Tell us a little bit about what you do and your relationship to Huddersfield.
Okay, if it's all right, I'll start with relationship with Huddersfield. So I started working for the university in 1993. So I'm not from Huddersfield, you can perhaps tell by my accent, and I worked for many years as a lecturer in the business school. But in more recent times, I've got a new role, a really exciting role. It's with the enterprise team, and we're a 7-strong team. And we're there to support students who want to start up businesses, or they want to develop the skills to enable them to start up businesses or improve their employability. So it's a really active job.
Can I just ask a question there, Sophie? Can I nip in? And I think, Leigh, that's incredible that you've worked in Huddersfield since 1993. And I'm sure you've seen lots and lots of changes. And I'm just wondering, what's the biggest change that might stick out in your mind during that time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been the rapid growth of the university, the significant growth of the university. And that's been amazing, but also technology. When I started teaching, we used a pen and a board, and the kind of the technology that comes into our job. So I've sort of gone through lots of waves of it's modernized. The university's got a lot bigger and a lot more diverse as well. It's really, really exciting. But yeah, in terms of the town, that's a really interesting question. The rise of good coffee shops. Don't want that to sound trivial, but I love a good coffee.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point, because one of the notes that I made about you before this podcast was your relationship with coffee, and you're absolutely right. Huddersfield has an abundance of really, really superb coffee shops. But tell, I guess, the people listening of your relationship with coffee and what you do outside of the boundaries of Huddersfield.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm a huge coffee fan, and that habit started in Huddersfield in the wonderful coffee evolution. The first version of it that was tiny, that moved to a new property, and I just got into the idea of kind of thinking and reading and writing in coffee shops, and then I just got really interested in the roasting and the brewing. So wherever I go, I try out coffee shops wherever I'm traveling to, but I'm incredibly proud, and it's lovely to discover that Huddersfield has not only got good coffee shops but great roasters as well. Very good reputation.
Thank you for sharing that. What is your favourite memory in your time in Huddersfield?
Now, I had a really good think about this, and because I don't live in Huddersfield anymore, I live in Leeds and commute across. So a lot of my really good memories are work-based, and that's about working in teaching and learning and seeing people transform. And that's great. And that's compelling. But if I had to pick out one memory, it's a really everyday incidental. And it's when I first arrived in Huddersfield, and I went into a bakery and tried to buy a bread product. And I asked to buy an egg roll. And the gentleman behind the counter said, "We don't do rolls." And I thought, I need to know the word for bread here, because I'm not from Huddersfield. So we had this to and fro experimenting with every form of what is bread, and eventually said to me, "It's a tea cake. You can have an egg tea cake." And I was about to say, "But a tea cake's got currants in." And before I could get the words out, he said, "And there's a tea cake with currants. That's a different thing." And I always remember that, because I think it's these little things that you learn and that you enjoy, and it makes you feel part of a place. And it was just a very funny incident.
What do you think is or needs to be Huddersfield's unique selling point?
Oh, now this is a toughie, isn't it? A unique selling point. So, unique selling point being something that's, I think, specific to the town, but obviously really valued by people and valued by communities. And in some ways, I think we shouldn't ask towns to have unique selling points. They need different selling points for different people. We need different things from towns. I'm very excited about the forthcoming National Rugby League Museum, because I think that will be a wonderful indication of our heritage, but also it's the idea of how do we bring that appeal in the modern day, and also how do we attract people that perhaps aren't rugby fans. So I'm very excited about that. But also I think towns, and it's about how you get the message across. A unique selling point, you can get great value shopping, you can get really fresh food in the town centre. Or, our university is right by the town, and we should see those two things as being integrated, again, a real selling point. And if I think about my experiences and going back to coffee and eating out, I think what often defines Huddersfield for me is it's full of hidden gems. And so the point of people referring you, I've always gone for meals, and people have taken me somewhere and I've said, I didn't know about this. Oh, I know about this. And it's the way people refer you to places. And I think what you've done with Hello Huddersfield is a really awesome take on that, and trying to get this idea of, if you've got unique selling points, how do you get those known to people, and how do you share that? It's a challenge. So one thing is to have the unique selling points, and I think Huddersfield, good place to spend leisure time, great place for a coffee, great place for meeting people, excited about the museum. But the issue will be, how do we get that message out there?
Thank you, Leigh, and I suppose we best say thank you for the cheeky plug there for Hello Huddersfield, for I guess for people that maybe don't realise, Hello Huddersfield is the public facing brand of Huddersfield Bid, as the destination website for the town, celebrating all the food and drink, the heritage, the family days out, all the things that we're trying to attract people into Huddersfield through a visit, a website. I guess for Hello Huddersfield, it's been quite a challenging year with the 12 months that have just been gone by, with the message to be, for the majority of it, to be stay at home, and we're really hoping to excel Hello Huddersfield a little bit further as the months of 2021 progress. The point that you made about the university, and this, I guess this is a bit of a tricky question for you to ask, really. It's for you to answer, really. But I know sometimes when we speak to people, sometimes, and it's the exact same in the city where I live, students sometimes get a little bit of a bad rap, really, on being a university town. Where for me, I think it's a huge positive, and the support that students will give Huddersfield, I think is incredible. And you mentioned the enterprise projects. That I think one of the things that we maybe need to do as a town is to encourage those I guess young entrepreneurs to stay in Huddersfield and to open their business in Huddersfield. So it'd be just interesting to hear your opinion on that a little bit more as well, if possible.
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. One of the reasons why I kind of moved from lecturing into working with the enterprise team is you kind of build up a natural tension in yourself. Where does all this stuff go that we talk about and we learn and we write essays on? And you really want, the idea of, if we're imparting knowledge, and if we're working with students about thinking about business, we need to be there to support them to be practitioners, to be people that open businesses, and to stay in the town and bring that prosperity to the town. That's part of the way. I think you've almost preempted my thought of the vision of the future. So my vision of the future is very much this idea that a student is learning their knowledge and their discipline, is also working on their employability while they're with us, and they're starting to think, I want to work locally, I might want to work for an SME, or I might want to start my own business. How can I transition from the university into that space? And how can the university continue to support me, but how also can the town support and embrace me as well? And how can we therefore support one another? So I'm always like a systems thinker. I'm like, that's what I really hope. And, I'll play a long game. When you've been in teaching as long as I have, I'll wait 10 years for the student to call me and say, I've got a business in Huddersfield. Do you know what I mean? It is a long, slow process of investment and broadening awareness, from the town's perspective, but also from our students' perspective. And that's what I hope. And to some extent, the current situation is such, there's so much uncertainty, and there are challenges in the classic job graduate job markets that I know, and more students are starting to say, I might need to do this. Yeah, so there's an urgency to it as well. It might not have been their first choice in terms of business setup, but it could be something that more of them think about earlier in their studies and their career, and we need to be there to help them. With that, I think comes an obligation to say, spend your money appropriately. And if you like a business, then it's not just about a transaction. You need to support that business. If they've got a subscription scheme, say for coffee, sign up. My partner signed up for his craft beer subscription. And it's about, we sometimes sit down and say, we really want those businesses to be there. Therefore, we have to change, if you can afford to, how we engage with them. And I think there's something of a deeper relationship to be had with some of those smaller businesses from the point of view of a consumer. It's about saying, think about your spend, direct your spend, and think about the prosperity it might bring to a place.
What do you think the challenges are for the town centre?
I think town centres, and I think about this an awful lot because it's a thing that's important to me. We often talk about town centres as measured by footfall, don't we? And that's not there at the moment. But then we might look to times where we think we must get the footfall up. But I think it's about the big challenge for town centres is what makes you want to go. And in some ways, I'm almost not the right person to ask, because as a child, I grew up knowing the value of a high street. It was somewhere you wanted to go, your kind of weekly trip with your mates out to the record shop or get some makeup from Woolworths or whatever. You were already predisposed to want to go into a town. I'm really curious, and I think a big challenge for towns is to ask our younger people, what is it you're looking for? What would make you make the journey? And so starting to think about, in some ways, taking the pressure off of retail. Retail just can't do everything, and these are very challenging times. Therefore, what can we do in other propositions? So we start to think about challenge for town centres as living spaces and becoming neighbourhoods in their own right. We start to think about, should aspects of education disperse, and should there be little pockets of education provision, all ages, in the town centre? Health and wellbeing centres, so that retail can breathe and gather itself and not be so pressured to be the draw. And then hospitality feeds off all of those other things. If you've got destinations and things to do, then hospitality gives you the third space to have a break and chill. And I think it's about, therefore, trying to think about life supporting retail, but taking the pressure off of retail and looking at other uses of town centres.
What visions do you have, or would you like to see for the future of Huddersfield?
Oh, there's two things to say, actually, Sophie. Yes, so a vision for the town, again, not a singular thing. We've got to meet the needs of lots and lots of different peoples, understanding what their needs are. And so it might be that it's important to have leisure spaces, well-being spaces, do more with our outside spaces. We've all got used to spending more time outside, so what can we do with those spaces? As I say, take the pressure off of retail so that we start to give people other experiential activities that they could do in town. The museum, I think, is really, really going to help. But again, I think it's also about visions at a personal level, and us asking ourselves, what do I want to do? Or indeed, what's my obligation? So I travel through Huddersfield when I'm commuting every single day. It's a pleasure for me. Buy your coffee in one of those coffee shops, make sure it's a regular thing, make sure you commit and get involved in local businesses and direct your consumption. So there's a personal vision, which is about being more supportive of businesses and town centres. So just talk about it, think of things that you want to do and be part of, and try and be part of things. But also, I think the vision is about the town being able to present to us lots of different options at different times for different needs, and just being really communicative and getting that message out there. So coming back to Hello Huddersfield, I love the day in the life of that you've got on the website. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool for each of them to get some people, give them a video camera and live that day and record it for you, so that you've got that lived experience? Because I think about my kids and younger people, they watch a YouTube video to think about what they may or may not want to do. So bringing some of those ideas to life. The point about visions is they become powerful when you can see them. So you can see how you want to live, or you can see how you want to trade, or you can start to imagine the feel or the vibe of the town. So I think if we can sort of convert some of those really great ideas into people's journeys and have a bank of people's journeys through Huddersfield. That could be very exciting.
We have now come to the end of Hello Huddersfield, and thank you, Leigh, for being with us today on the show. And I think it's really important for those who are listening today. You've made some really important points about, not having a unique selling point in Huddersfield, but having different selling points. And I definitely agree with the University of Huddersfield playing a really important role in the town centre. Another really interesting point you made, and I think listeners should take this away with them today, is when you do have a favourite shop, or you really enjoy going somewhere as a consumer, it's not just about the transaction, it is about supporting the business. So thank you, Leigh, for making those points. And another point, from the love of coffee, and I myself do love going to a coffee shop. I do love my teas and coffees. And the thing about Huddersfield is you're never far from a coffee shop, and there's always something different here. So again, thank you, Leigh, for being with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Now, listeners, if you have any questions or have something you would like to share, then get in touch at inquiries@huddersfieldbid.co.uk. Keep a lookout for our next podcast with another guest speaker. You're listening to Hello Huddersfield, the voices of Huddersfield inspiring the future vision.